अब आप सुन रहे हैं बॉक्स आउट FM, हर वक्त हर जगह नए जमाने का नया रेडियो।
Okay, great. So we are gathered here today to record an episode of Fresh Out the Box. It's a podcast on Box Out FM, an independent radio station in New Delhi. In Fresh Out the Box, we basically interview artists who have just released new music to kind of discuss how the music was made, the process of making the music, what they hope to achieve and convey through the music, and just get to know the artists behind the compositions. So really excited to be speaking with all the incredible musicians behind Connecting Pathways, this great collaboration between India and the Netherlands to create some really unique, some really beautiful music that combines Western and Indian music disciplines. And just really excited today to be speaking to all of you. Maybe we go around the room and just introduce ourselves and the instrument that you guys play and your names and just a little bit about yourselves. Yeah, so we can whoever would like to start.
Let's start with Maya.
Wow. Okay. I'm Maya Fridman. I'm a cello player and I play a lot of contemporary music, but I also love to improvise. And through Heiko, I was invited to take part in this project, and I think it's a really beautiful idea to connect in this way.
Namaskar, this is Chandrashekar. I'm a Mridangam artist and a classical musician. I usually accompany classical music performances, vocal as well as instrumental music. That's my forte. And then I also accompany dance performances, Bharatanatyam performances, that's where I collaborate with other forms. So dance and music combined. And I've also done some work with Sharat ji on contemporary music and Indian music. It is classical, Carnatic as well as Hindustani, two formats coming together on a platform. We have done that. And also, I have my own group, which is a percussion ensemble group called Akshara. And I have presented Talwade Kacheris under the banner of Akshara. So that's little about me. And I'm excited to be part of this Connecting Pathways. Thank you.
My name is Heiko Dijker. I'm from the Netherlands. So I'm very Dutch. But I do play classical Indian music. I'm a tabla player, producer, I compose some music, and I find it super fascinating and heartwarming to collaborate with all these wonderful musicians. I started my journey hitchhiking from the Netherlands. I was no musician. I just left my country hitchhiking. And after 1 year, I reached India, and classical Indian music touched me very deeply. So I stayed, I bought a tabla, I started learning, and India has welcomed and warmly welcomed me so much always, and that's in my heart. And that welcoming, I think one of the very beautiful results of my journey is this project, Connecting Pathways. And special mention to my brother Sharat, because we go way back. Our connection is from before we were born, actually. Our gurus, our teachers were already friends in the 1950s. They were making music together. And when we met, we continued this journey full-heartedly. And again, this is Connecting Pathways.
My name is Sharat Chandra Srivastava. I'm a violinist, composer from India. And I was trained by my grandfather, my guru, Pandit Joy Srivastava, under the legacy of the Senia Gharana. My grandfather learnt from many gurus. His elder brother was his first teacher. Then he learned from a great Indian sarod player who gave up his instrument and played violin. He took up violin. So he played the Drupad and Dhamar techniques of the sarod on the violin. Pandit Gagan Chandra Chatterjee in Allahabad. So we come from Allahabad. And then my grandfather went on to learn from Baba Alauddin Khan Sahab. So, I mean, from my childhood, I've been just learning, Indian classical music and all of that. But then, when you get into college, you want to do some rock music, right? So I was fortunate enough to join, the greatest rock band back then in the 90s, Parikrama. So I played with Parikrama for about 12, 13 years. Then found my own band, fusion band called Mrigya. And so it's just been a great journey, in always, finding something new to work on. And then when I met Heiko in India, then, I've been touring with him in Europe and India. We played so many concerts together and we've been working on different projects. So, yeah, I mean, this journey has been beautiful and keeps us busy with something new. And thanks to the Embassy of the Netherlands, they asked me to do this collaboration. That's when I thought of all these lovely musicians. And talking about Netherlands, Heiko Ji's name has to come first. So I contacted him and then he said, we will give you beautiful musicians from the Netherlands. And that's when I thought, let's bring this connecting pathways thing forward. And then I contacted Chandrashekar ji and Fateh Bhai. And then we sort of sat down, made music and composed some tunes, made some parts, and then we recorded it in the 2 different countries and then, put up this show together.
Great. Yeah, that's a great segue into, I guess, the first question we could open with. But, obviously, I mean, I heard the music and, thematically, it's very interesting. There's a lot of different shades of different genres going on. It's not strictly a Hindustani classical venture. So I guess my question is sort of, how did you guys compose the music? Because obviously, there are certain movements which were inspired by rags, but there are others which sounded to me as original compositions. So what was the process? Because obviously you guys were not all in the same place. You were in different places. So what was, maybe if any of you want to talk about the composition process, what was that like?
So basically, writing new music was the idea behind this show. And so me and Heiko, we were, constantly going back and forth about what kind of ragas we should choose, what kind of, compositions, the show is going to be in the evening. We should choose some beautiful evening ragas. So that was the concept. And so he came up with this beautiful tune called Flying Beyond, which is it has got nice rhythm patterns in 9-beat cycle. So he shared this with me and immediately, I thought, okay, this song, Mridangam Sitar would fit really well. So he sent his tune to me and then I, along with, cello and piano. We do not have Rembrandt today in the show, but his piano playing is fantastic. And, Maya, what she added with the cello. So these 3 files, complete section came to me. And then that's when I recorded my violin here in my studio here in Delhi. And then I took Chandruji to the studio and Fateh Bhai to the studio and we recorded their parts. So this was the process of making songs. And then I came up with 2 tunes, I chose this beautiful evening raga called Bihar, and we called this tune Glistering Waves. So basically just, talking about melodies, rhythm patterns, discussing over the phone, and then sitting down and recording our parts. This is how these songs happened.
But it must have been quite a different process to do that remotely over the phone or over the internet, because this discipline and this style of music is so contingent on being in a room with somebody, and like that energy and that sort of dynamic that you develop as classical musicians. You really need to be in that room and be looking at each other's faces and movements, and so I'm sure it must have provided it must have made the process a bit more challenging to do it remotely.
It is always challenging to make music, but at the same time, thanks to the technology, I would say that we are being able to do this. Otherwise, there's a live conversation happening. I can just pull out the violin, I can play, Heiko ji can come up with his tabla parts, and we can at least compose online. And we talk almost every day because we have been working together last 20 years. So, any new composition or any project I'm doing, he's doing any concert, we are sharing files all the time. So this becomes really easy. But yes, of course, all of us sitting in one big room and playing together, that feel, of course, you can never find.
To me, it was a real great adventure. I mean, I took the opportunity to ask new people to collaborate. Like Maya and me, we never worked together, and I've heard her music a lot, and she's absolutely amazing. You should check. I mean, all of her work. Check on Spotify. Check on YouTube. It's fabulous. Very, very versatile in improvisational or classical. So I took the opportunity to invite different people, and we had never collaborated. And Rembrandt is an amazing pianist, composer. I've done some work with him, which is great. And he has a very, very deep passion for classical Indian music, but he never really worked together. So I also thought, okay, he has to be here. So this was a team that I was wanting to bring together. I mean, from Sharat, I know I can trust 1,000%. We hit it off. We gel and we inspire each other. We thrive off each other. We enjoy music. Always something nice is happening. So based from that trust, I jumped into the adventure of inviting different kind of people. And the way we worked was like, we actually recorded first in the Netherlands, but we were in one room. So I chose this format to be in one room together with the 3 musicians, because we improvise and we had no idea what was going to happen, how we're going to interpret the compositions. And that was a beautiful, adventurous process. Very unexpected things happens. I think when you listen to the music, you'll hear it. In my own composition, it's like, it was wonderful to have Maya improvise a huge part there, and to hear her sound and spirit in that. In my own music, it's an honor and a joy and a blessing. And then on top of that, we had the Indian musicians. Sharat Bhai, I know him. He always delivers soulful performances. And then the rhythmic part by Chandru, of course, it's a joy. I mean, I can completely trust a top mridangam player to join in with that 9-beat thing. And Fateh Bhai has this soulfulness on the sitar. So it was very unexpected, but very beautiful to have this moment grow and bloom into a flower, all of the different pieces.
Definitely. I actually wanted to ask you, Maya, because Heiko, I know that your background is already in classical music, in Hindustani classical music. But Maya, your background is more of a Western classical music, from what I surmised reading and listening to your music. So what was it like to, I guess, is this the first time you've collaborated and worked with Indian classical? And then second follow-up to that is, what was the experience like as a composer, as a musician, playing in a more new sort of musical environment? What was that like?
Well, indeed, it was, I guess, not completely first experience of playing this kind of music, which I really love to listen to. Actually, I did some courses on Carnatic music in the past, but it was still quite a theoretical thing for me. I was a little bit nervous actually because I just have a lot of respect for Indian music, and I find it in a way more challenging to improvise than other kinds. But I think because of this mutual trust that we had in this session with Heiko and Rembrandt, it went all quite easy and fluent. And I didn't have to think about what I'm playing. Actually, it just was coming to me. And then, so I really hope now that we will be able to meet all live and to do it completely live with all of you guys.
I was hoping if Chandrashekar Saab and Fateh Ali Saab could also talk about their experiences of playing this music, being brought onto the project. As Sharat sir said, that him and Heiko were kind of working on the compositions first, and they were in a more skeletal form, and then the two of you were brought on to sort of fill out the space with mridangam and sitar. So obviously, I mean, I've read a little bit about your guys' backgrounds, which are highly illustrious. So maybe if you could both just talk a little bit about your participation in this project. What was it like first time hearing the music, how you recorded it?
To speak about my experience, it was really exhilarating. I came in towards the end of this project when most of the mold was already created. So what I gave was my responses to the beautiful music that was already created. I was not in the part of creating music earlier when, just the way Heiko said, there were three of them recording together and then responding to each other's music. And there's something impromptu being created there. So my role was when already the structure had already been created. And it was, in fact, very easy for me, rather less challenging, to react. I had only to react and respond to the music that had already been created, beautiful violin of Sharatji, and rhythmic responses of Heiko in different places. So it was fairly easy for me, but again, challenging because there's such good musicians playing at different levels, giving different kind of music. So I had to respond to each one of them in my own way. And maintain my identity, the identity of my music, which is Carnatic instrumental mridangam. So that was very interesting and challenging. I really liked it. I enjoyed particularly the 9-beat piece that was composed by Heiko. It was good. I mean, we have a similar time cycle in Carnatic music. So it was very challenging for me that way to give various permutation combinations of 9, in response to the beats, the rhythm that tabla had created.
Amazing.
For me, the feelings is really same about the music, and there's actually kind of 2-3 kind of music altogether. Carnatic music, Indian classical music, and also jazz field or the violin, tabla all together. And after 2 years, almost 2 years, this kind of such music, the good composition when we have, and when especially when I heard and listened all the compositions, I feel really happy to the collaborate with the Heiko Bhai's composition, 9 beats also, and the Sharat Bhai composition, Mayaji's, all the composition are really great. And it is my pleasure and it is honor for me to collaborate all such kind of musician all together. So it's a beautiful music. After 2 years, it is the first attempt. Very good.
Amazing. I think some of Box Out FM's listeners may not be as familiar with the way classical music, Hindustani and Western classical music is composed. For the most part, a lot of people that we interview on the podcast are artists, independent artists who have put out their EPs or albums, but they've either composed or recorded in a bedroom setting, which is at home in like a makeshift studio, or they've done it at a studio with a bunch of other producers and songwriters. And I think their process is fairly different than something like this, where it's more like an idea or a motif that is built on and added to and improvised on top of by a bunch of different people. So it's more like a confluence of different energies. So I guess maybe if Sharat and Heiko, you could talk a bit more about like the process of making such an album of music, because it's quite different from making, any other kind of pop or rock music.
So basically, the kind of training we've had, I don't think we can call ourselves pop musicians or, somebody who's, who deals with, commercial music. We always come up with the number one first rule that we believe in, that, we should play our own music. In the sense, because there is so many beautiful ragas which are already giving you so many beautiful melodies that you grow up with. So writing new music is always fun and challenging, and this gives us a sense of satisfaction that we are writing our own tunes and we are giving it to our brothers and friends in Europe, and to add their touch and color to the song. So to have original music in mind is very important, number one. So this has been a focus for many years. I have learned so many tunes, when I travel, when I'm on tour, we meet so many new musicians, on tours, and whether it's African music or jazz or whatever, so many influence in the world. When you get out, you grab all these things and you bring it home. And then you never know, one African kora player's line, which you like, you might use it. And, for instance, a concept like connecting pathways. So these are the influences and the experiences we've gathered over the years, which help us to make new music all the time.
And, obviously, I think now because of the pandemic and because of the inability to actually do a lot of things in person, it's really interesting and it's really timely that, such a project exists and you're able to do a cultural collaboration as well. It's not just an artistic collaboration. It's really like it's a synergy of so many different forms of music. So I guess if anyone would like to talk about like the importance of the cultural collaboration aspect of this project, that would be great. Heiko, maybe if you want to start.
Sure. Well, I think most of us nowadays hopefully are living this life that we are kind of borderless in our spirit. The world has become so small with internet, with international travel, and I meet so many beautiful young people, young musicians who are so open to the world and so open in collaborating and learning and absorbing. And this process is just bringing so much joy. I come from a non-musical background. I grew up without music. I became a musician when I came to India, and I started after my 20th. So what to me is the most beautiful thing that I'm still learning and experiencing is music is its own language. And to communicate in this way is the most important, I think. And then if you take that communication or connecting, I think it's wonderful to connect to human beings. Whoever I meet, wherever I go in the world, I'm really interested in meeting people and spending a good time and learn from each other. I mean, kind of almost everybody you meet in life, you can learn something from. And then when music is the language, it's beyond words, which opens up a total different new dimension.
Absolutely. Yeah. I guess maybe we can talk a little bit about the songs specifically as well. I really enjoyed the song that's called Thankfulness. I think it also has a Dutch title. I don't want to say it because I feel like I'm going to butcher the pronunciation.
Give it a go.
Binnen zonder kloppen.
Say it again, smooth. It was perfect.
Binnen zonder kloppen.
Perfect. I'll come to your home now without knocking.
Okay. Oh, is that what it means?
It means literally entering somewhere without knocking a door. So basically you just feel warmly welcome, or you're kind of binda's in being in somebody's house.
almost heard shades of like blues music in some sense. Like it sounded very. It went from a very traditional rag introduction to almost a, I mean, I feel like fusion sometimes doesn't capture, like as a word, it doesn't capture enough of like the detail of what we're really like dealing with sonically. But that one sounded like, with the piano, especially the way Mr. Rembrandt played the piano. It sounds very influenced by non-Hindustani music as well. But maybe I'll instead ask each of you what was like the highlight, which sort of what moment in the collaboration, which song was like sort of the highlight for you, rather than my highlight.
Well, let's continue on Binnen zonder kloppen.
Yeah.
Because I think the title is wonderful. It adds really to this collaboration, which was initiated by the Netherlands Embassy to bring Netherlands and India again closer. So Binnen zonder kloppen is what I learned in India. You're always welcome, and people welcome you very warmly here. So Binnen zonder kloppen is a perfect title. It was composed by Rembrandt, and Rembrandt is an amazing musician, but also composer. And his background is basically jazz and classical. And he has a very, very keen interest in world music, from traditional musics from all over the world. So actually, if you listen more to his kind of music, he has created his own sound and style. And I think Binnen zonder kloppen is one of these pieces that really represents him. And maybe Maya can speak more about it, because he composed for Maya music and you had to improvise on it. So maybe you can add something.
I think it's always a matter of interpretation, of course. There were very nice lines to play in his piece. And you had to find some approach. What kind of function would I do? Would it be more like a bass, or would it be more melodical? And how do I still leave space for the others? So yeah, it was a very nice collaboration. I was really happy that all of us, you Heike too, were really supporting and giving a lot of input and ideas. Because when you just come and you play for the first time together in this way, it's always you cannot never know what to expect. Actually, I think we got some beautiful results.
Definitely. Chandrashekar, sir, if you want to talk about your highlight, your personal highlight.
Well, my personal highlight still would be the piece with nines. Reason being, see, we in our Indian music, most of the pieces are in eights, or we call it 4 or 8, multiples of 4. So that's very easy to follow, easy to pick up. Most of the songs, if you would know, any song that you sing would be in eights,
Right.
So this 9 is an unusual rhythmic pattern, quite tricky to catch. So that was the highlight, as well as that was very challenging for me to make different patterns in that and not repeat myself, and respond to the music of the beautiful music created by others. So that's my favorite piece.
Sharat ji, Fateh ji.
I like two compositions. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. The first one is belongs to the classical raga. I forgot the name of the composition, which is the made of Sharat Bhai. And
Garden Lounge.
What?
Garden Lounge, right?
Garden Lounge.
I really enjoyed. I enjoyed playing Flying Beyond a lot because the time signature and rhythm patterns in the song, plus Rembrandt's piece, Binnen Sonderkloppen. So that was that really felt like knocking the door without knocking the door, entering into the room, because that piece is actually in 19.
Oh,
19 beat cycle. So
Very unusual.
Unusual, and the patterns to basically understand the mood, because the files that came from the Netherlands, cello, tabla, and piano files. I was just listening to Heiko Ji's, tabla patterns and following the rhythm and all of that. So that was challenging, but it was so much fun. So I really enjoyed playing that. And of course, Flying Beyond is another beautiful composition.
Yeah, that's great. Really good to hear each of your inputs on the music. And obviously, we at Box Out really enjoyed listening to the music, and we're excited to have it out in the world so that everybody listening can also get a taste of what this collaboration sounds like. But I guess just as parting words, I would love to hear, as the musicians, as the composers behind this beautiful music, sort of what is your message, and what do you want to say to people who are listening? What do you want to put out there in addition to your music? That holds meaning for you, and what this whole journey and this process has meant for you, and what you would like to say to anyone else.
So I think I want to give the message, especially since this project is a collaboration between the Netherlands and India. I warmly welcome everybody to the Netherlands, and as I've been welcomed so warmly in India, always, always, always. I can never forget in my life. So that warmth of welcoming, including people and sharing the food, the best food in the world. These things, I think we need more of this. We need to be kind. Binnen Sonderkloppen. Everybody is welcome, and let's be kind to each other and share good times, good music, and good food.
Incredible.
I would love to say that I think the most beautiful thing in the world is to connect to each other. And this project was a wonderful opportunity to connect. And I hope it can serve also an example of what is possible, because it's been extremely valuable learning experience, but also just personally, I feel very warm and embraced that this possibility just occurred, to connect with such a wonderful musician. I think if all of us will be open for this magic to happen, that it will happen even more often. So I wish everyone a lot of magic and connection.
Well, I would also like to echo the same sentiments here. As Heiko Ji said earlier in the show, that with the technological advances now, the borders have been erased, and we have been able to come together as one unit and create this beautiful music. And so, looking forward to more such opportunities. And because of this pandemic, we recorded separately in 2 different countries. So looking forward to a situation where all of us work together in a single room and present a beautiful concert and make better music and beautiful music for all of you.
Lovely. Okay, great. Thank you all again for taking the time out to speak today. Again, really love the music. Really love to hear about your process as well. As I said, we don't often interview Hindustani classical and classical musicians in general. So it's very interesting, and I think we also learn a lot speaking to people from disciplines that are as unique as yours. So yeah, thanks again for taking the time out, and I guess we'll look forward to the music being out there and for everyone to listen to it.
Thank you so much for having us, Rounak. It's been an honor and privilege to be on this show, and I wish you, people at the Box Out FM, all the very best for only one reason: that the kind of music you mentioned you're playing is brilliant, because not all the time we hear any radio station playing, sort of non-commercial music, independent music. So we need people like you, to be honest.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you for this initiative and joining hands with us in Connecting Pathways concept.